Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Lionel, and I'm your host for LT Productions. You are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering Sistas, currently on BET. This is season 9, episode 10. We got one more episode before the mid-season finale. Well, next week is the mid-season finale. So, anyways, I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Please like this video. You can also subscribe if you're new here. Share this video, and also leave your comments below. All right, so let's get into this episode. All right, so of course we always begin with Karen. Karen is now on this dating app with Maurice. We find out that there had to be, outside of even Maurice, of getting on this app, she needed 3 more referrals. That's four referrals in order to be on the app. Maybe that'll just kind of wipe out all the losers and people that are just really catfishing and all that if you're getting all these different referrals, I guess. But I thought that was a lot. Marie said, you know, that this could be really great. You could have about 20, he says that he has 20 dates a day, or at least people wanting to date him for, at least 20 people a day that are wanting to hook up or date or whatever. As they're doing the little fodder together, he was talking about, you know, what about some lesbianism? And she said, you know what, I'm only interested in men. And Maurice said, fun fact, that's all what I'm interested only in also. She finally found someone. Maurice was swiping through and found someone who is a doctor, cute, handsome, and all that, and she's gonna make a go for it. Back at Danny's home, of course, Danny is trying to figure out why Jamal is there, blowing up the bathroom at all of that. Danny's fussing because of how the apartment is a mess. And Tony said, look, this will take about 5 minutes to clean up and all that. He gets on the games and start gaming with Jamal. Now you're starting to pick up some weird habits, Mr. Tony. Because all that stuff is kind of stereotypical. When dudes just want to stay at home and just play the game and all that stuff. I wish you wouldn't lean into that, and now you have another influence that's not going to really check you on that because he's a bum, or at least I'll just say he got out of jail. But it doesn't seem like he's going to put any effort, forth any effort to get a job either. Anyways, Danny's mood changed because she found out that her settlement check has came in the mail. So then she goes outside and calls Sabrina and says, hey, I got my check, da-da-da-da-da. She said, oh, I have a lunch date, but afterwards you can come on by and all that good stuff. At the office, Fatima and Andy. Basically, Andy's mood is shifting towards Fatima. I'm going to say something a little bit later because I think that this is true, but I think that Andy's being manipulative towards Fatima. Yes, I like Fatima, but I'm like, what? As soon as Fatima does something that's a little bit separate or not connected to you solely, you got all this attitude. So we're going to talk about it a little bit later. So anyways, it looks like there's some things that Fatima has laid to the side that she was supposed to do for Andy. The truth is, Fatima is Andy's paralegal. And she's supposed to be doing that and nothing else. She's not even a real lawyer and all that good stuff, and she's doing stuff that she's not really technically qualified for, you know? Fatima gets into her tail and says, remember, the players are not your priority. As far as all of this, whatever you're doing, remember to keep me informed, and I need the statements from the witnesses that have had some grievances against Dr. Cruz. Fatima says that I don't have them yet. Well, you were supposed to do this, da-da-da-da-da. But Fatima said that she will get that. But then all of a sudden there was this coldness that came upon Fatima that was just, all of Andy. I was like, that was kind of stank. I mean, if you're turning over into, what is it? The girl from The Devil Wears Prada, Miranda. It's like, if that's what you're gonna do, or what is her name? Vanessa. Oh my Lord. Vanessa, do y'all remember Ugly Betty? That started back in the mid 2000s or early 2000s on ABC. Vanessa Williams, yeah, her character on there, yeah. So anyways, moving on. Zach comes to Rich's place. They catch up for a second. He sends his condolences for his baby and how is he doing, da 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 da. And then Chaz comes in. Of course, Rich is a little bit starstruck in regards to that. Zach and Chaz, they come together. Zach is cold to him. He tries to reach out to handshake. Zach wasn't feeling it. So anyways, Chaz just goes into what he wants to do. He wants to have a restaurant that has a basketball court in the back. Now, a basketball court. So Musk and restaurants should not mix. Sweat should not mix. I don't understand how does food, as far as restaurant food and a basketball court, really mix, but he really is gung-ho on that. Karen, she stops by her salon and sees that things are not really well. Pamela, the scheduling system, the computer system went down and all these people are there. Pam did list off some other things that were going on that Karen just really could not take. Of course, Pam couldn't apologize and all that, and she'll get it all together. But the same Karen that would just really lay into Pam is not there. Karen ends up just getting overwhelmed, and she just said, "I can't," and she walks off. And Pamela's a little bit shocked in regards to that. We all are, but I understand what is happening to her. Anyways, let's see. Okay, so Sabrina's guy shows up, and guess who it is? Jamal. That is Danny's cousin. This is the doctor that's on the app. Of course, Sabrina doesn't know Jamal, so it's gonna be crazy when they actually find out about each other. So they go on and smash. We found out a little bit later that it was really good, and he made her orgasm 4 times. I said, "Oh, okay." They look good together, but I don't like that you're lying on these apps about you being a doctor, sir. But if this is more for hookup, I don't know if they're going to start liking each other or what. Of course, as soon as Rich comes around, then he's going to be acting foolish and stupid. So crazy. In the office, in the boardroom area office, again, Andy has another meetup with Fatima. She wants some stuff. Hayden comes in. He's talking a little bit about what they got going on. He leaves. Andy has another attitude saying, "Remember, you work for me." So Fatima's kind of conflicted in what she's doing and trying to be loyal to Andy at the same time because of how Andy's putting pressure on her to do all this, Zach and Chaz, they talk a little bit more. As Chaz is running off at the mouth, Zach have all these questions and not even allowing Chaz to respond. The last question he asked was, "Do you even know how to run a restaurant?" And he was like, "What? If you would just let me talk for a few minutes, I may be able to tell you what's up." "No, I don't personally. But my roommate has a BA and all that, and he's run a restaurant and all that, and he can do all that. I'm just really trying to put some money into this thing, And then Zach, during the course of their conversation, gets down to the nitty-gritty on why he even agreed to come to meet. He wants to know, do you know how detrimental it is for your health to send another man's girl, expensive gifts? All right, so back at the game, at the bank, I'm sorry. Paige and Maurice there talking and all that. Paige has a gift for Maurice, and Maurice was like, I really am not, didn't know that we were at the stage of gift giving. And she said, "That's okay, this is just something from me to you, He ends up apologizing about talking about her split ends earlier today. And she said, we didn't talk this morning even about that. So he says, "I talked to Molly about you." Lord. So then, of course, Sabrina's there. They start talking a little bit from afar about, oh, it looks like somebody done got, their crack back and all that. And Paige is going on, and Maurice was like, "Seems like somebody just trying to be nosy." I said, "Well, that's what friends do. You do be nosy." And then Maurice was like, "That sounds very white." And then Paige was like, "I am white." What was it? I wrote it down. And then Maurice was like, "Why would you make this moment about you?" Stereotypical stuff that happens. uh, Karen goes back home and Lisa's taking care of the child. Aaron's somewhere doing something. She tells Lisa about that the shop is in disarray and Pam did this, da 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 da. And she said, well, what did you say? Lisa did. And she said, I couldn't really handle it, da 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 da. Well, I hope you do something with her because Pam is a liar. She's been lying for years and da 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 da. And I just couldn't really stand her that much. So then Karen went on to say, you know, Dr. Bott, whatever his name is, did say that it'd probably be good for a change of scenery and all that. So Lisa was like, what were you thinking about getting into? And she was like, just probably taking some type of trip. And she smiles at Faith. And she said that she's ready to hold her baby. And then she said, Faith. I don't think or did she put her in her arms yet? I think she did. I forgot. Anyway, back at the office again. Fatima has gotten the signatures for Andy, and Andy thanks her before checking everything. And then when she does, we find out that Fatima had 12 signatures, and it should have been 15 altogether. And she only got up to like a certain month, and it needed to be more months than what it was because of the specifics and all that. You know, you're just kind of off your game, Andy says, and you need to step it up. And then she reminds Fatima, you know, I'm your boss. And Fatima's like, you know, I got your back and all that. I've always had your back, da 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 da. It just seems like today you're just not with it. Today. So you mean, let's just say 4 years, I've been on my game. And one day, you're telling me to step it up, da 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 da. To me, I felt like that was so manipulative. You're off your game and step it up. Like you're trying to depreciate her and trying to humble her so that you could have her under your own control. You know, and possibly just Andy's clingy and she's just so used to Fatima following up behind her and doing anything independent, probably makes her feel a certain way. There's a codependency, it looks like, on Fatima. But anyways, Fatima said, you know, if you're questioning my dedication, then maybe we need to have a conversation. So, back with Zach and Chad, he said, look, stop sending my woman gifts. And then they get to start tussling. Rich comes over there, it didn't go too bad. Not like how Zach can go off, we know. Chaz was trying to now say some slick stuff by saying that Zach, he wants to feel like a man because obviously he doesn't feel it at home. I said, Lord, you know you're not supposed to disrespect somebody else's woman or somebody else's partner. That's just so crazy, y'all. At the office, again, Andy's in the office and she gets a call and there's some more deep investigation. We're finding out that Dr. Cruz has another class action lawsuit in Alabama. What he did is he hightailed it out of Alabama and he changed his name. In Alabama, he's Dr. Ivan Cruz. So you go into all black places and purposely unaliving black children and black women. That is something very crazy. Very crazy. Sabrina, Paige, and Marie sit back at the bank talking about she got 4 orgasms, and Danny comes in and she brings the check. It's going to take 7 to 10 business days for the all monies from this check to be cleared. And then they just talk a little bit about she didn't have lunch, she had a lay. And then Sabrina ends up showing the D pic. Of course, she don't know her cousin's D, so that's why it's not throwing her off. I'm sure she's going to be sick when she finds out the man that Sabrina has been sleeping with. Soft ending. There wasn't any topic to be continued, and I'm cool with that. You know, next week is the mid-season finale, and I'm cool with that. Also, it's October, so maybe they'll be back in a couple months, or they're just going to wait until January to come back. I don't know. But anyways, tell me your thoughts. Sorry I was later than when I do actually release these videos, but circumstances got in the way. But that's all I do have for y'all. Please like this video, share it, subscribe again, and until the next one, peace. you.